My name's Karen, and I'm the co-founder of an innovative SaaS application that helps contact centers optimize their operations and maximize their profitability, all with the click of a button. So how long would you have to wait on hold when you're trying to get customer support? I recently was on hold with Air Canada for an hour. Being put on hold for an hour is unacceptable. Even 5 minutes is unacceptable. Waiting on hold is a huge problem across all industries. We should be on hold for less than 20 seconds. And companies want to answer your call in 20 seconds. And how do I know? It's because it's been my business for more than 20 years to help companies figure out how to make that happen. But knowing how many agents you need is actually complicated to figure out. Depending on the size of the company and the call volume, there can be thousands of agents. So you might have Susan over here juggling calls and emails and texts. Bob might have called in sick. Steve did what the majority of contact center agents do, and he quit after 6 months, and there was no one trained to take his place. Companies like Air Canada deal with all these issues, along with multiple languages across multiple global locations with staggering attrition rates. And they are desperate to know how many agents they need at any given time of day in every location, so that when customers contact them, there's someone there to respond. But you can't just hire more agents and throw them at the problem thinking that's going to be the solution. 80% of operational expenses at a contact center are salaries. You can lose millions of dollars if you hire more people than you need. Companies hire consultants like me to help them because there is no simple or quick way to figure out the ideal number of agents to have. Companies are relegated to creating complex formula-driven spreadsheets in Excel like this to do capacity planning. And look at this horror show. There is no margin for error. If you are just 1% wrong in these formulas, it can result in a loss of almost $900,000 in a 300-seat contact center. My business partner and I have been building capacity plans for more than 20 years, and these plans can take weeks, if not months, to develop. Huge companies like Walmart are still using spreadsheets, and companies can lose multiple millions of dollars just by being 1% wrong. They can't afford to be 1% wrong. We've been waiting for years for someone else to solve this problem, and we finally got fed up and did it ourselves. Our solution is Cinareo, the game changer. We built a solution that is a simple step-by-step wizard that doesn't require you to have a PhD in math to figure out. We capture all the multiple variables and data points, but all the complex formulas are actually hidden under the covers. So instead of spending weeks or months building complex Excel spreadsheets, you simply enter the data, click a button, and calculate. Cinareo provides an easier, faster, and more accurate way to do capacity planning. It tells you how many agents and support staff you need, and also provides you with a detailed operating budget. So how much on salaries, how many people you need on Thanksgiving weekend, your overtime costs, when to start training someone to be ready for when Steve quits and walks out the door. Cinareo also saves you a huge amount of time. So one of our current clients has told us that using Cinareo saves them up to 75% of their time compared to using Excel. So imagine this type of efficiency for every single call made to Air Canada. You miss your flight, and you're getting it sorted out in 20 seconds. This type of efficiency would be impossible to calculate easily without complicated, time-consuming spreadsheet development, but it is now possible to do within minutes using Cinareo. There are over 60,000 contact centers just in North America alone, which is 80% of the market right in our backyard. We have 3 target customers. In addition to consultancies like our current client PwC, our focus is on in-house contact centers. So for example, companies like TD Bank might have a contact center in their branch. And then there's also business process outsourcers or BPOs. These companies hire BPOs to handle all their customer support, either year-round or when they need to scale up fast or aggressively. Elections Canada is a good example of this. They actually do customer support in-house, but when an election ramps up, they hire a BPO to provide additional customer support. I've been a consultant with elections for the past 2 federal elections to optimize their contact center. And up until now, there has not been an effective way for them to handle complex capacity planning. But now they're giving Cinareo a trial run to see how it can benefit their operations. Workforce management platforms have been around for a long time. Many of them are well cemented in the market and do a great job at forecasting, scheduling, and intraday management. But for some reason, which my business partner and I can never understand, the piece around workforce capacity planning has been neglected. Genesys is one of the top-ranked workforce management platforms worldwide, and they actually used to have a capacity planning solution, However, they got rid of it because it was way too difficult for their clients to use. And they have just recently had gone back to the drawing board to try to figure out a new solution when they realized we had beaten them to the drawing board. So they have actually come to us and asked us if we can join their app store and be the solution that their customers are looking for. They were planning on spending the next 3 years developing a solution themselves, and were amazed to see how we succeeded in making a complex process so simple and efficient. We have gotten a tremendous amount of momentum in the last while. We just last week signed a partnership agreement with Genesis to offer their customers a plug-and-play solution for capacity planning, and we're going to be working closely with them to build an integration directly into their platform. We have several paying customers currently from Canada, the US, and also the UK. And although we initially targeted small to medium-sized contact centers, large enterprise organizations have been proactively reaching out to us. We've done no cold calling, and through word of mouth only, these enterprise organizations have been reaching out to see if our solution will work for them. We have proof of concept trials happening with many of them now, and one of these is Foundever. Foundever is one of the largest contact centers in the world. They have over 200,000 agents globally and over 500 workforce planners. Imagine having 500 people dedicated to capacity planning using Excel, and the millions of dollars of potential savings they could have using a solution like Cinareo. These enterprise organizations are thrilled to know that Cinareo is positioned to tackle a pain point they have been suffering for years. We're charging our current clients $25,000 for an annual site license, but this will be rising considerably over the next several months as we build in additional features and functionality, and we're going to be moving to a user-based licensing model. Our sales strategy is based on a few different approaches. My business partner and I are connecting to potential customers through our extensive relationships in the network for direct sales, specifically targeting North America as a starting point. We're also working on forming partnerships with workforce management platforms like Genesis to build direct integrations into their software. Our simplified solution means that clients need little to no training before they start using the tool effectively, so the uptake has been really quick and the benefits and time savings are immediate. Our roadmap over the next 12 months has important features we want to build that these large enterprise prospects are waiting for. These big companies are knocking on our door and we want to serve them, but we need the funding to do that. This is why we need you. We're currently refactoring our code to make it more scalable to the enterprise level to meet the needs of these larger companies and to get the Hydro-Quebecs and the CIBCs and the TD Banks and meet the needs of these big guys that have huge amounts of people globally. And we need to scale up to handle multi-skilled agents in multiple geographies across the globe. We've talked to these companies and they're excited about the potential that's at their fingertips, and they are waiting in the wings for us to deliver. So we recognize the need to scale up quickly and move aggressively, knowing that they're waiting to jump on board. And this is why we need the funding now. Our financial forecast includes anticipated aggressive growth over the next couple of years. This includes bringing on board up to 3 dedicated salespeople and expanding our team to drive forward additional partnership agreements, including many more staff members and extensive marketing support. We anticipate a large jump in revenue over the next couple of years with our partnership agreement with Genesis, who has over 1 million customers worldwide. But our primary focus is to bring these key features into the tool that customers have directly told us are vital to their success. And with our extensive experience in the contact center industry, we are in an ideal position to deliver the best possible solution. But to do it quickly, we need the money to do so. So our goal is to raise $1 million to fund our roadmap over the next 12 months to address these key asks by prospective enterprise clients as soon as possible. Investment is going to be used to scale up sales staff, bring a data scientist on board, and help fund the development of these priority roadmap features. This investment will also be used to build API integrations so that clients using any workforce management platform can just plug and play our solution into whatever software they might be using. This is the ideal time to invest because as soon as these key features are launched, we will be the only capacity planning solution on the market that directly addresses the pain points for these enterprise clients. My co-founder, Mark Alper, and myself have founded this software solution. And like I said, we both have 25 years of experience in the industry. I specialize in digital transformation and software design and spent over 12 years at the IBM Innovation Lab, simplifying complex software with a focus on the user experience. And my co-founder, Mark, has built contact centers from the ground up and is a workforce management expert. We've been working for the past decade together as successful management consultants, optimizing contact center operations, and we truly understand the pain points that exist in the industry and what contact centers need to be successful. We also are working with 2 key advisors who have years of enterprise software solutioning experience under their belts as well. With these advisors and the strong validation we have received in the market, we believe we have developed a solution that can redefine capacity planning in the contact center industry. And when you invest in Cinareo, you're making sure that every call to Air Canada is going to be answered in less than 20 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Okay. All right. Rahana, do you want to kick us off with feedback?
Sure. I have a question, and maybe I missed this. I'm really not clear what the solution is. Like, in terms of what is your secret sauce that nobody else in the market is being able to address? Because obviously this challenge has existed since the start of time. Yeah.
Yes. The secret sauce is this: we have developed an automated way to do capacity planning. So Excel spreadsheets have been used forever to do complex capacity planning, and we've taken it, like, they're formula driven, right? Erlang C formulas, a lot of calculations, and we've taken those and built a wizard so it does all the formulaic equations automatically. So all you do is plug in your data. This is our target service level, this is whatever, and all those calculations happen in the background.
Can you just pop back to that slide?
Oh,
like that one. Yeah.
But then my question is, right, like, usually the formulas have to take into consideration the nuances of the call center. Like an Air Canada call center is going to be very different than a Walmart call center, etc. So how are you addressing these in terms of the formulas in the back end?
So the data is going to be their own personal data. So their attrition rates, their shrinkage factors, their productivity factors, their desired service levels. They plug in that data. They plug in and they forecast what they want their service level to be on a channel by channel basis. So they might say, you know, all calls might have to be like 80% of calls have to be answered in 20 seconds, text, back office. They plug in all that data. But then based on whether it's a deferrable or non-deferrable channel, so like live chat is non-deferrable, right? You have to answer it immediately. We have formulas for every type of queue and every type of skill in the back end. So based on what they define is like, I have this queue and it's calls and it needs to be answered within 20 seconds. That will feed into the direct formula in our back end.
Okay. Thank you for that. That helps me get a bit more perspective on the solution. So overall, in terms of feedback, you know, you're obviously very passionate about this. You have a lot of experience, and that comes across in your presentation. So kudos to that. I think you do a really good job of explaining the type of experience you bring to this, and I think that adds a lot of credibility to the solution, as well as to you as a co-founder. I thought you did a good job of, like, I call it, you know, twisting the knife in the liver in terms of like the pain point, what it costs, right? Like the 1% wrong equals $860,000. That's and it's profit. It's not revenue, it's profit. Right. That's a really big thing. The part that I think needs expansion on is the solution component of it, because, you know, if I'm sitting there in the audience, right, and you're showing me an Excel spreadsheet, and what you've done is you've codified this Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of inputs, right? I'm sort of puzzled, going, why the heck has nobody else done this? Right. And I know you've been puzzled, and I know you say you say it a couple of times as well, but I'm like, really? So like, it's a bunch of things, like, so you're giving it a bunch of input, but it's a bunch of formulas, and then you're spitting out some stuff. I'm like, okay, so what's making you so special? And I think that needs to come across to add to the credibility. And that was what was missing for me, because I did see this and I saw you know, they're not like rocket science. I know they're complex, but they're not rocket science here, right? And I don't get that part of it. And I think that's important to add to the credibility.
So should I explain, and this is what I was struggling with, because there's a lot of permutations, let's say, that go into these calculations. Like, instead of, you know, like, I have X work volume, I need Y people, right?
Yeah.
when you have to factor in things like a new hire learning curve, right? Like you have to specify, you know, my agents take 6 months to be fully proficient, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we factor in the learning curve on a week by week
Yeah.
basis for people,
Yeah.
and like, you know, shrinkage factors like schedule adherence or sick leave or all that, like all those kind of non-productive times have to be factored in. I don't know how much in detail to go into that without, you know, taking off a huge chunk of the presentation explaining the issue, right?
So like I wouldn't spend, like I said, 9,642 hours, but I do think it's important, you know, for you to actually address, like it was me in the audience going, now you might all be puzzled. I know I've said we're puzzled as to why nobody has done this, right?
Yeah.
But let me tell you what our solution takes into consideration, right?
Okay.
That makes it complex. So for example, we think of the learning curve that it takes for a call center rep to get up to speed. We understand and compensate for shrinkage, right?
Okay.
Give that piece of it. So then not only have you talked about your experience in terms of doing this, you're like, listen, I built all this crap into the solution and it addresses it for you automatically, like you said, at the click of a button.
Okay.
Right? And so it's not just, because this is an Excel spreadsheet and it's formulaic, right? So it's not just formulaic. There's other components to it that are built, right, that take that into consideration so that the answer that it's spitting out does let you get to that 20 seconds.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's essentially like on your next slide where you show the wizard. Maybe there's an opportunity at that point where you're talking about this, saying it's kind of to Farhana's point, what's your barrier to entry for some other competitor just turning around and doing the same thing? Because coding a wizard isn't the hard part, as you know, being a developer. It's the stuff that goes, it's the complexity behind the scenes that that you know, and it's kind of that you're surfacing it up in a very, very simple way, which is a competitive advantage, obviously, over the spreadsheet approach. But then there's a lot that goes into it. And one of the questions I had, this, you know, simple wizard, no complex formula, multiple data points, that's your opportunity to talk about it. But this is SaaS based, right?
Yes.
It is a SaaS based offering. So, you know, I don't know if it might be worth, I don't know, maybe you can just talk to it here just to make sure, to Farhana's point, that knowing how much goes into this and that this is not something that someone else could develop in a couple months.
Yeah.
This has taken you not only your years of experience, but it's understanding how those things fit together and how you surface them as questions in this wizard-like format. That is the secret sauce.
Okay.
Yeah. And you do talk about the competitor Genesis, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe there's something there, a story you can tell in terms of, well, this is what Genesis was doing. However, it obviously failed in the market. They've come to us, right? Because this is what we do. So that's another opportunity, because you mentioned that if, you know, it's going to take them 3 years
to
you
build
kind of
it.
you gloss over that component of it. I think that's the part that is important and it's missing, because when I just see this wizard, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, what's the big deal? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and you have, you know, and both Farhana and I are kind of product people, right? So we immediately start looking at what's in the app, right? And I can see your number 1, 2, 3, and I start to look at those things.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible for you to just have a quick click through of
the different steps.
And like just to kind of go, you know, this is, because obviously this is a pretty simple front, but then you say, we just guide them through, and you kind of click through this, we take them through this, there's this, you know, and each of these questions, you know, takes into nuances of, you know, the stuff you guys were talking about, the shrinkage and everything else.
And would it be good to show like our final report, like we have like the reports that you get at the end when you do the calculation, right? Would it be good to show, like, you know, you find out exactly how much it costs to hire ahead of attrition if you want to stay on top of it, and that I could go in detail into the report findings. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
An impact statement, right?
Yeah. It's like you talked about the cost, right? But what is the impact in terms of the benefits for the solution?
Okay.
I'm going to count, because I know you don't have a lot of time, is like, if you go through, because it's 9 steps, right? If you go through all 9 steps, I think it'll take a really long time. But if there's a way in one slide to show for all of those steps, what are the inputs that are taken in, and then you're going to the output, and you're like, now I can tell them this because this is what I know. And when you're talking about, you know, the shrinkage, you've taken into consideration time to, right? So that could be another way to take Leah's suggestion of the steps 1 to 9.
Okay, and just show the inputs and the outputs to see what they would get out of it. Okay.
You're not going to be able
And
to
you don't
show
have
them
to-
all either.
You know,
right?
yeah, just pick
representative.
the key ones. Yeah, pick
Okay.
the key ones. Yeah.
Again, with the key output here being that you want to show that there's a high barrier to entry. You know, you have your competitive slide and it's like, why hasn't anyone else done this? And you want to show that you've got a lead time. I loved your statement about, you know, we're the only solution on the market. But the big question that people are going to say is, well, how long is that going to last?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's that compelling, you know, how easy is it for someone else to do? So can you say, look, you know, this is taken to the previous, you know, the previous presentation where we were saying it's kind of cool to see what went into it to that date.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes it's nice to know that this is not an overnight solution. This is not some app developer just kind of, you know, hey, I can solve that with a pretty front end.
And that's why I kind of mentioned Genesis had a 3-year roadmap to build this.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why I thought maybe that helped, like explains, you know,
Yes.
that's how long it's going to take them. It's easier for them to just use us than build it themselves.
Well, how many years have you guys been developing this?
Probably around 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you mention that? I can't remember if you did.
No, I think I mentioned we launched we just launched it a year ago, but we were doing it during COVID. So it's been a while.
You know, maybe I'm one of those people. I think people are way too aggressive about how fast they think they can develop things. Just having lived through how many missed dates over the years of developers saying that they can deliver things, right? It always takes longer than they think. And so knowing how much has gone into it shows that this is not something that's easy to solve.
Okay.
You know, overnight. You want to have a competitive runway and an advantage here that's going to sustain, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for sustainable competitive advantage.
Okay.
What is your sustainable competitive advantage? Okay. And I love the way, by the way, because I got to see your first iteration, I was just smiling ear to ear because I thought, like, you really upped your game in terms of the stuff we talked about last time, like way better storytelling, simplicity,
Good.
bringing your experience in right away, simpler slides. Like to me, I noticed a huge impact on what you've worked on since the last time.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
I have some really small little things because I'm a slide nerd, but these guys know the 80% thing that you had there was distracting me when you were talking about the other points. Can you just I don't know if you're allowed to do this, but can you just bring the 80% thing in on a build?
This one?
Like it was on the whole time, and you were talking about the 3 points on the bottom, but all I could see was that 80% thing, and I was wondering where it was going. And then you said, and 80% of operational budgets, like your conclusion, use that as a highlight. So it's almost like, can you bring that in? Yeah, can you go boom when you say that?
Yes.
Point, right?
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Because it's distracting otherwise. It's obviously meant to be the main point on the slide.
Yeah.
You know, when it's across like that. So let me focus on what you're talking about first and then bring it in.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like really pleased with how concise this was compared to the last time, and just like you really got across the point quickly on difference between spreadsheet, I thought, and your wizard. But I wanted a little bit, kind of like for HANA, but just a little bit more on the solution. This is SaaS based. This is, you know, here's a little bit more of the secret sauce and what's going to make sure that we remain the only solution on the market for the next little while.
And should I mention that we have a patent pending as well on some of the formulas?
Yeah. That's another barrier to entry, right?
Okay.
Barrier to entry.
Okay.
All the barriers to entry that you can mention,
Okay.
like not all, but obviously, like you mentioned them, because that did not come across. Your experience came across, but I was like, it's a bunch of formulas. Like that's all I was. The entire solution, the entire time, I'm like, okay, she's got a bunch of formulas from an Excel spreadsheet and she's codified it. What the hell is preventing somebody else from doing
the deal?
this?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
I was
you're
going to
actually
go tonight and I took a screenshot and I was going to develop it myself tonight. You know, I'm teasing.
Yeah. But you're kind of in an enviable position. There's very few markets where you can be the only solution on the market, and it typically doesn't last very long. So if it's that compelling, right? So if you can show what went into it, your experience,
Okay.
that you've got patent pending technology. This is not as easy as it looks. We make it easy for the user, but there's a lot of complicated stuff in the back end that is hard for people who don't have the experience or don't have the knowledge of the space to even contemplate creating a solution like this.
Okay.
Because basically what you're saying is you've taken your 25 years along with your co-founder's 25 years and you've codified all of that experience into this platform, right? So
Yes.
you understand nuances, you understand situations, you understand scenarios, and you've codified that, and they are getting that for X dollars in a SaaS solution. That's a pretty damn good thing.
Okay.
And that does not come across.
Okay.
I have another small slide nerd thing.
Yes.
The pie chart that you have on the slide, where you talk about the market, addressable market.
Yeah.
It was throwing me off because it's on the left, so it's the first thing I'm looking at. But you were talking about stuff on the right, and I don't think it's that critical a point. Like you could probably just say when you talk about, I don't know, you could just make a point that 80% of the call centers are in North America, and that's, you know, I don't know, or maybe it's like, I don't think you mentioned it until a little bit later. So you were talking at the right and it's on the left, and I was distracted by the pretty colors.
Okay.
So
okay.
Okay, I think we better hold it there.
yeah.
Let me just.
And you were very concise. That was only like 9 minutes, right?